Hello student, in this video, we will take a look at an example question related to topic 6, momentum. We have here question number 17. Two objects with masses m1 is equal to 5.53 kilogram and m2 is equal to 3.27 kilogram collide and stick together. Then they move with a common velocity v as shown in the figure below. Given V1 is equal to 10.2 meter per second and M2 is stationary before the collision, calculate the momentum of mass 1 before the collision. So if we take a look at this figure, we can see that M1 is moving and approaching M2. So this is the diagram just before the collision. After the collision, M1 and M2 are moving together with this final velocity of V. So to answer this question, which is to calculate momentum of mass 1, we're going to be using this formula. P is equal to mv. So here, since we are calculating momentum of mass 1, so this is going to be P1 mass 1 and then the velocity will be V1. So we're going to substitute. The mass is going to be 5.53 multiplied with the velocity is going to be 10.2 meter per second. So the answer that we're going to obtain is going to be 54.4 kilogram meter per second. So this is going to be the answer for question number 17, which is momentum of mass 1. So now we're going to take a look at the following question. Calculate the momentum of mass 2 before the collision. So again, we're going to be using this formula. P2 is equal to M2 multiplied with V2. So we're going to substitute. The mass is going to be 3.27 and multiply with 0 because mass 2 is not moving or stationary before the collision. So the answer here is going to be 0 kilogram meter per second. So this is going to be the momentum of mass 2 before the collision. Alright, so now we're going to take a look at the next question. Calculate the velocity after the collision. So this is perfectly inelastic collision, meaning that both objects move at the same velocity after the collision. So we have this formula m1v1i plus with m2v2i, and then it is going to be equal to m1 plus with m2 multiplied with v. Okay, so now we have mass 1 is going to be 5.53 multiplied with 10.2 plus with the second mass is going to be 3.27 multiplied with 0 because before the collision, initial velocity for mass 2 is 0 since it is at rest. So it is going to be equal to mass 1, which is going to be 5.53 and then plus with 3.27 and then multiply with v, right? So the velocity is going to be equal to, in this case, it is going to be equal to 6.18 meter per second. Okay, so this is going to be the final velocity that both mass 1 and mass 2 travel after the collision. We have now arrived to the final question, question number 20. Using the equation to calculate the kinetic energy of a moving object, calculate the kinetic energy of mass 1 after the collision in joule. Okay, so remember that in the previous question, question number 19, we have calculated the velocity of both mass 1 and mass 2 after the collision, which is moving at 6.18 meter per second. So in this question, it only asks you to calculate the kinetic energy of mass 1. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to be using this formula. K is going to be equal to 1 over 2 mv square. So it is going to be 1 over 2 multiplied with mass 1, which is going to be 5.53, and then multiply with v squared, which is going to be here the final velocity 6.18 square. So the answer is going to be 105.6 joule. So this is going to be the kinetic energy of only mass 1 after the collision.